All right, Jesus. I'm dog sitting right now, and I'm trying to make a video, okay? I'm trying to make a video, but guys, I know. One of my favorite things to do, okay, is geeking out over music, right? Metal music. It's fun to geek out over music, but one of my favorite things to do is discussing hot, spicy, juicy, whiny takes. So I asked you guys on Twitter and Discord to give me your hot takes, and I'm going to go through them and see if I agree or disagree with them. So let's have some fun. Let's be civil. Let's be nice. So this is all we need for chit chat. Hot takes in metal. Everything Architects has done post Holy Hell is actually really good. Most people just don't like it because it's different from what they've done before. Fair point. Music is completely subjective. It's up to the listener and their experiences and how they grow up with music to justify what they think is good or bad music to their criteria. Architects is a completely different band than how they were before. And my experience with the band is that they're one of my favorite bands. I've been listening to them since Hollow Crown, which is an album that's almost like 15 years old or around there. Hollow Crown is still my favorite record. There's nostalgia attached to it, but also I love the mathcore, I love the intensity, the aggression. And the new stuff is basically a much different band, and I'm very happy for them to find so much success with it. The band is huge, playing arenas and getting so many streams. They're killing it. But if you like the new albums, then that's a totally fair point. They're crushing it. They're getting millions of fans along the way too. So they're obviously doing a lot of things right. Not every song needs a breakdown. It's become a crutch for people who can't write good songs. This has been a common argument for 20 years now, actually. But it's more apparent than ever because most metalcore music, the breakdown is the song. And back in the day, I remember loving bands like Veil of Maya with the Common Man's Collapse, and they would throw in like 3 breakdowns in a song. And I remember the breakdowns being almost a little bit of a cop-out. It was the same argument that they had 20 years ago, is that a breakdown relied on zeros and was almost just filler. But now, metalcore music or deathcore music, the breakdown seems to be the most impactful part of the song. And to be fair, sometimes it is the most fun part of the song because the rest of the song can be a little bit on the tame side. So, to answer this in a much more simple fashion, totally, not every song needs a breakdown. I want more variations. When I hear more variations, I tend to favor it a little bit more just because the trend of breakdowns is getting a little bit... No, it's getting pretty fatiguing. It's funny because I tweeted out something kind of similar saying modern metalcore needs less breakdowns and more guitar solos and instrumental sections. It's getting to a point when I hear a guitar solo in a metalcore song, I'm pleasantly surprised, but I would also love just instrumental sections. Back in the day, the Human Abstract, Protest the Hero, it was just crazy with their instrumental sections that would become these jam sessions. Rather than focusing on breakdowns to be discussing, it was more of a vibe and also just showing off the technical capabilities to the band too, which honestly gives them some credibility because they're great musicians. A breakdown simplifies that for chugs, which kind of takes away the credibility, and there's only so many things you can do with a breakdown too. So I do wish for more guitar solos and instrumental sections rather than just relying on the breakdown. Okay, check this out. Bogdan replied by saying TikTok/social media in general ruined metalcore. A lot of repetitive slop that was only created for that one 30-second segment to be spammed on all socials and get the craziest over-exaggerated reaction faces. I am complicit. So Lorna Shore to the Hellfire, I think, is the biggest culprit of this because it's not that they intentionally did this, right? But instead it went viral and everyone was just disgusted by that breakdown from Will Ramos that it went viral. And then so many deathcore bands are trying to do the same thing. So this is absolutely correct. And TikTok tends to continue in that direction, but it's not just breakdowns. It's always looking for that hook. I think a good contrarian example to this is Sleep Token The Summoning, which is one of the most viral songs in metal. 150 million streams now on Spotify, which is massive, but the song has like 7-8 different main components to it.
Did I mistake you for a sign?
So I agree with this. I just think that I hope that we get more outliers like Sleep Token The Summoning to get viral through just writing good music that they want to write. Metalcore Clown Boy, we need to start tuning up again. Tone has gone out the window. And yes, a good example of this is Gojira at the Olympics. This is a band that does not play 7-string, 8-string guitars. They pretty much play in like D standard or just like standard tuning sometimes, right? And they sounded huge. They are one of the most metal, intense, heaviest bands out there, yet they don't rely on pitch shifters, 7-string, 8-strings, or gutturals to create that heaviness. And now don't get me wrong, the low strings and heavy gutturals create so much intensity. It's such a cool style, but when so many other bands rely on that, it takes away the heaviness that almost something in D standard can be just as heavy. So I totally agree with this, and there's so many bands that you can look at that play 6 strings that are so aggressively heavy and intense. Pupil Slicer, for example, is a heavy, intense band too. Breakdowns have for the most part killed solos in modern metal. We need more sweeping again. So there seems to be a theme, eh? A lot of people are getting bored by the breakdowns, are looking for more melody. And back in the 2000s, we had sweep picks everywhere. That was almost a trend to just do non-stop arpeggios. And I talked about this before. So I think there's a want and a need for more melodies, and rather than chugs in a bridge or other aspects, people are just missing the riffs in a lot of metal music I'm hearing. Another kind of spicy take is that the Thall sound is getting old. So this is actually a pretty good spicy take over here, because Thall music is one of the most exciting subgenres of metal right now. Giarta is the helm behind it, and then there's Humanity's Last Breath, and now we have metalcore bands using it. And I mentioned back in the day that in my Giarta review that you're about to see so many bands utilizing this style in their core music. This is going to change the guitar world forever, and it has. We also have that band like Mirar that is mixing classical music with this, and it's so cool. But I think where Fran is getting at with this comment is that Buster Odom's mixing is so distinct and unique that so many people are loving it, but because of a certain sound, it starts to sound a little bit samey. And this could be true to other producers in the scene like Will Putney. He has a certain style and sound that you hear, once you hear it, you're kind of like recognize it. So Buster's mix, although is so forward thinking, so many bands are utilizing them that it's almost oversaturating the market. So I understand where she's coming from, but at the moment I do think that the Thall sound is still has a lot of room to grow and expand. Mirar again doing classical music, Humanity's Last Breath just doing the heavies, and Giarta being progressive, Alt just being such a good metalcore band. They're a little bit more on the metalcore side of things than Thall. They're just using Buster as a producer. But where I'm getting at is that I understand the comment, but I think Thall still has some time to grow and expand. Trickle releasing and drifting away from albums destroys the music experience for me nowadays, but I'm also old and don't have the attention span of a fish like these young people seem to have. Yeah. So it seems to be the trend to release every song as a single, with Spotify being the main way that people listen to music these days and getting onto streams and Spotify playlists. It works. And look at Sleep Token, for example, that dropped every song for Sundowning and put their band on the map. Well, Take Me Back to Eden really did. But the point is that a lot of bands are doing this and it's working. And I agree that I miss it. I just don't think that there's any way around it. TikTok and Spotify is accelerating trends. And again, like shortening the attention span to people that we constantly need more and more and more, keep things relevant. So it's the way that the world is going. It's unfortunate, I'm going to miss the way that albums are released, and bands are still probably going to do it, and you can totally favor that. But the way that music is being released is just almost releasing the entire album before it drops. Fallen Reverse is coming out this Friday, and they're pretty much doing the same thing. And look how big their numbers are, right? Modern metalcore needs to move on from Linkin Park and find a new band to rip off. So it's true that Linkin Park seems to be the basis to this, because Sempiternal was a album from Bring the Horizon, which pretty much feels like Linkin Park on metalcore, and a lot of bands are imitating that Sempiternal sound, and they almost still are. Now, I think there's so many different subgenres within metalcore. Like, yeah, metalcore is already a subgenre, but like we got the shoegaze bands, we got the revival core bands, we got the more progressive bands, that I think there's just so many different variations to metalcore that I don't know if this is necessarily true, but the ones that are more popular and that are more prominent are definitely the ones that sound a little bit more Linkin Park and Chester Bennington, right? So I agree, but I think that there's just so many other styles of metalcore that so many bands are getting inspired by tons of different sounds in the space. R&B with breakdowns needs to die a quick death. Bring aggression back to metalcore. Oh, and please write lyrics about something. So R&B with breakdowns needs to die a quick death. I don't agree with that. I think that there's an audience for the aggressive metalcore that he wants, like Boundaries and Knock Loose, and then the R&B with breakdowns, Bad Omens or Sleep Token. I know, not really metalcore, but you know what I mean. It's just that there's an audience for these different styles, and just wanting aggressive metalcore like only, I think, is limiting such a wide demographic. And personally, for me, I want this scene to be healthy. I want it to expand. I want it to grow. I want different sounds and ideas to keep this style of music refreshing. And the fact that we have so many different styles, R&B with breakdowns and, you know, the aggressive stuff, is why I think the core scene is at a healthy state, although there's a lot of trends, Thall, breakdowns, blah, 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 blah. But I like that it's in a healthy state with all these different styles. So you have your aggressive metalcore and you can listen to it, but the R&B stuff, there's an audience for that too, and I'm stoked for that. So I don't agree. I like both, and I like that there's an audience for both of those. And please write lyrics about something. Well, yeah, we got Silent Planet. Make Them Suffer has some pretty cool lyrics too. But I do agree that the lyrical component to metalcore seems to be a little bit on the bland side. It's a little bit always negative mindset, and I guess the music is a little bit more on the therapeutic side. But I do wish that there had some more substance, rather than focusing on some surface level demons that you're dealing with. I think there's more to the world than that. And again, the music is therapy to a lot of people. I just think that there's so many problems in the world that could be addressed. And I do agree that I wish that there was more topics that metal bands or core bands covered. Again, Silent Planet is probably, no, not probably, I think is one of the best bands doing it right now.
Who feels the fascist? The classist ain't gon' get in the masses. It passes under the contrived countenance of contrition.
From covering politics, history, LGBTQ movements, they cover so many different facets, and that's why Silent Planet and Garrett Russell is one of the best lyricists in the scene right now. We need more professional local videographers in the music scene, so fans in attendance do not need to use their phones during events, and in return would increase crowd participation and get people to stay off their phones. Okay, so Randy Blythe of Lamb of God just recently made a comment saying that he wants people to stop being on their phones and be present during shows. I have a little bit of a counter argument, because ticket sales have gone up. You know, inflation is crazy right now, that if you're going to a concert, by all means, do what you want to do. You have the freedom of choice to record or hang out. You can do whatever you want. Now, I do think that there should be a balance in between, like, participating with the show, being present, but also recording footage, because if every fan was on their phone, yeah, that'd be a little bit weird, especially for the band, right? So I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, because you're paying money, you should be able to record as much as you want. But it's cool to have videographers record the footage. That's just, again, an expense for a lot of the bands, and in terms of editing and hiring someone to be there. So if fans record the footage and put it up on social media for them for free, the ROI just makes more sense for fans to record the footage too at times. Courtney LaPlante is being held back by a mediocre band ensemble. One guitarist, her husband, who is capable of power chords and offers little variation or complexity in his parts. A drummer who is mediocre by all accounts, etc. They need another layer, another guitarist at least. Oh, here's an actual like hot take. Like the other ones are like hot, but this one's like spicy. I understand where this comment's gained from, because if you're listening to Spirit Box, it's just gent riffs with some clean guitar passages layered and a little bit of technical moments and some intricacies in drums, but it's mostly a vocal forward-thinking band. It's really about Courtney's vocals. And that's how the band writes their music. And guess what? They're Grammy nominated, they're getting onto festivals, tours with Korn and so many other bands. They know what to do to get on the billboards and the rock charts, but also get into festivals.
I've never found a way to be honest. I know there's a place where I hide.
Courtney is a superstar, and writing the music around her vocals is what's working. Now, if you want more technical stuff, guess what? They were in I Wrestled a Bear once. Mike Strainer is a very technical guitarist. You can watch YouTube videos of him just shredding. So they're capable of that. They're not mediocre musicians. Instead, they're incredible musicians. And the reason why they're incredible is because they know how to write the complex stuff, but they also know how to write hits. Writing a hit is just as hard or even harder than writing a technical proficient song with so many arpeggios. So Spirit Box are incredible musicians that are blowing up. Sure, the music is vocally driven, but that's the point. It's around Courtney's vocals and the nuance in her melodies between the harsh vocals, and that's why the band is as big as they are today. I think Sleep Token is overrated and only borrows from the lowest dominator of R&B, pop, trap, etc. I think that their popularity is only because they don't innovate with those genres like Linkin Park, Bring On the Horizon, or Bad Omens did. I disagree with this. Now, they do borrow different ideas from different subgenres, which is a common thing with prog bands, and Sleep Token is a prog band. One of my favorites is Between the Bear to Me, and they mix jazz, polka, country. Now, Sleep Token is not a true proper metal band. They're a rock and many different things, but it's their willingness to try different genres, but that's not really the driving force behind the band. It's Vessel's vocals. It's the atmosphere. It's the song progressions. It's the feel of the music, which is speaking to so many people. Now, a lot of people do find it slow and boring, and that's totally valid if you feel that way. To me, I love the progressiveness. I love the unpredictability. I love Vessel's vocals. I love the lyrics. There's so many components of Sleep Token that to me is so refreshing, especially in a scene that is so convoluted. And it's funny that you said Bad Omens or Bring On the Horizon, and I can give you a hot take that Bad Omens music sound like Bring On the Horizon for majority of their releases. Sleep Token doesn't sound like anybody else, and that's a reason why now they're signed to RCA and getting sold out arena shows. And the fact that people focus on the R&B is wild. The fact that I'm hearing so many R&B criticisms when Sleep Token only has like 3 songs that maybe have some R&B. Like, if you listen to their discography, they don't really add R&B a lot. They're a progressive band. You can go back and find videos of Vessel shredding Animals as leaders and Periphery on piano, or Veil of Maya. They're a progressive band. I understand people not liking Sleep Token, but the reason why that they're so popular is all those reasons I mentioned. And again, they're hitting a market that hasn't been properly tapped into yet. People need to admit Fall in Reverse slaps. It's funny how this is such a hot take. Admitting that you like a band is a hot take. But yes, Fall in Reverse's new music slaps. There's a lot of songs that I like. I'm excited for the new release. I don't know what genre Ronnie Radke is doing, and that's kind of the excitement. You can argue that it's not cohesive and he's trying to choose a genre, but at the same time, there's kind of some entertainment that you get out of not knowing what the album's going to sound like at all. There's a reason why he's getting millions and millions of plays and streams. He's clearly a fantastic songwriter. He's clearly a musician that understands the trends and understands how to cultivate that and cultivate his marketing.
Killer on a killer, gotta take some go!
He's a very controversial figure, but he's well aware of that and he taps into that. So I agree, Fall in Reverse does slap at times, and it's funny how this is a hot take. I think especially in the core scene, it's very spicy take, but in all other aspects, you know, I talk to people who just like rock music outside of this, and they're like, oh yeah, the new Fall in Reverse stuff is cool, right? It's so neutral. But online, when I'm in a core scene, everyone needs to stop trying to sound like Bad Omens, and Fall in Reverse deserves the love it gets. The Fall in Reverse fans are coming out now, man. 90% of songs do not need 3 choruses, at least if it's the usual verse, chorus, breakdown, bridge, chorus, especially since most bands try doing that in only a 3 to 4 minute window. Not sticking to this formula is one of the reasons I adore Thornhill and Greyhaven so much. I agree, I think the structure is so played out because back in the day with metalcore and post-hardcore music the structures was such a selling point, because As Lay Dying 2 and All That Remains, Kill Switch Engage, they didn't really follow the typical structures. Every structure felt a little bit different, and it made for such an exciting genre. Now, since so many bands are replicating the pop song formula, it is boring. It's a common criticism that you see me always talk about, because I'm always going to be an advocate for song structure and keeping things unpredictable and refreshing. So I totally am for bands shaking up the structure. We need more of it, and only being 3 to 4 minutes is another thing that is a little bit a downside, if that's the right word. When I see an album where all the songs are 3 to 4 minutes long, I'm a little bit worried, because I love hearing 5 to 6 minute songs or 2 minute songs. I just love hearing a band progress with their ideas in so many different facets, and 3 to 4 minutes just shows that it does follow a similar structure and feel. So I totally agree with the sentiment here. Oh shit. All right, so we've been recording way too long. I've been talking too much. I got way more hot takes to go through, so maybe a part 2, but I gotta end the video because audience retention is only like 4 or 7 minutes long, and I know, man, I know, TikTok brain is ruining everything. All right, I was going to end the video, but if you got a hot take, then comment down below, spice up my life. Let me know your hot takes, but be civil, be nice, don't be mean, don't be crude, be gentle. Not too gentle. I want a spicy, good hot take. So comment that down below, and feel free to hit the subscribe button. Feel free to leave a like during the video. But on that theme, tune in. Until next time, peace.